Okay, hello, and welcome to our CPD 3. This is particularly organised for delivery to new schools coming on board with us. So you may have either a BA or a PGCE student starting with you this term. Please, if you have got any questions, please do ask or pop them in the chat bar. I am on my own today, so I am trying to manage different bits and pieces. So I am now recording, and I will drop back into the chat, or if you just want to pop your mics on at some point and just ask, then please do. That's absolutely fine. So today, sort of introduction, we'll just go through what introduction and purpose of today's CPD, and just showing you where you can go to keep in touch and visit the Primary Partnership website, which has all the different information and documentation on that you might need to support your associate teacher placed with you for this term, for this placement. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about supporting good mentoring. So how can we support you in ensuring that you're able to do that and support your associate teacher in school with you. And we're going to look specifically at giving effective feedback, so both verbal and written, and looking at sort of how we can make sure that our written targets are purposeful, and looking at the critical incident reflection that we ask all of our associate teachers to complete, and then any feedback, actions and next steps. So welcome aboard. I know Charlene has already popped her name and school in, but if you could just add your name and school. Sorry, Charlene, could you also pop in your email as well for us? So that then we have got those contacts, and we can add those to our contact lists as well, and that means that we can always get in touch with you if we need to. So introduction. So just to introduce myself, I'm a senior lecturer here at BCU. I will usually present alongside my colleague Anne, who unfortunately has another meeting at the same time. But I have accompanied her in order to deliver some of this mentor training as well. I'm also the Year 2 BA year lead, so very much involved in placements for our BA Year 2 associate teachers as well, who may be starting with you. And so we have PGCE and BA Year 2 are on school-based training too. Currently, either starting on preliminary days last week or this week, depending on which course they're on. And then also we have BA Year 1 associate teachers starting on school-based training 1 with some of their preliminary days also. So CPD training, we try to do 2 or 3 of these across the year, and you will find other training materials on the website, and you can look back at those with recordings to support you further. And then there is a mentor induction, which is available on the website as well, which we would certainly recommend you visit, and that will give you a good idea and overview of the documentation that will be used to support your associate teacher in school with you. There's also the school-based training mentor guidance. Again, that's available on the partnership website. So please do have a look, and even if you sort of have a brief look now and see if you can find those documents. If you can't, then give me a shout and we can show you perhaps where they are as well. All of this documentation that is going to support you is available on that website, but also the associate teachers should have some of it that they can also share with you if you were to ask them. And then school colleague mentor briefings, which identify specifics of the placement. So there will have been offered school mentor briefings for year 1 and year 2, and also for PGCE. These are also available on the partnership website and accompanied with recordings. So please do have a look for those as well. So this is our primary partnership website. So if you were to click on that link, that will take you through to that website, where you will find lots of important information on there. And this is what it will look like if you click the link. And then really 3 places: mentor, CPD and support, placement documents and briefing, and then looking at RITE curriculum and subject prompts. And that will really support you in developing an understanding of what our associate teachers have done in their module learning in university, and what that curriculum looks like. So what have they covered to date across all curriculum subjects for primary? And then there's also subject prompts there, which you can have a look at, and they may help you and support you when carrying out lesson observations with your associate teacher in school when they're planning and teaching. So please do have a look at those. If you can't find, as I've said before, if you can't find anything, then please do get back to us.
Sorry to interrupt, it's Charlene. I can't see your slides. It's still on the CPD3 new schools. I can't see them moving through.
Oh no, that's not good, is it?
Sorry, okay. I don't know if Jordan can, but I can't see them moving.
Can anybody else? No?
Right,
yes.
I can now see the supporting good mentoring. Kath, can I ask you just to expand the screen for me, please? Because I can only see the small parts, and there's your notes at the bottom.
Right, okay. So
if you go along to the cursor by the cross.
On which part are you referring to? So, because I can only see my...
Okay, if you take your cursor up to the top bar where it says, I can see your name, Kath, at the top of the screen.
Oh, yeah, here.
Yeah, and then if you scroll over to the one just before the cross, it's got 2 little squares.
That one?
Oh, I can't see where it should be. The one by the cross where you close it, there's 2 little squares, and that's your expand. Yeah, that one. Yeah, and then I think if you do it again, I'm not.
No, that hasn't.
No,
because from on my screen, it's.
Is it full size?
It's full size. So on your screen, it's not.
No, it's the little one.
Okay, so I've just.
That's okay. I can see it. It's okay. I can see it now. But it's not the big one. It's the small one. That's okay. That's fine.
Has that made any difference?
Yeah. A little bit bigger, please. Just a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I can see it. It's fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
Now the only thing is, if I go back to slideshow and I then move on.
I've got it now. Yep, perfect. It's working now.
It's working now.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. So if I just go back, so I went through these things which are sort of going to help you support with your associate teachers, and then onto the website. Did you see that slide? And then we've got primary partnership website, and we've got supporting good mentoring. I have heard I think someone trying to come into the meeting.
I've done it.
No, possibly not. No. So I'll come back to that. Is that okay?
Yeah, if you click slideshow again, then it will come back up as it was, full screen.
The joys of technology.
Thank you. Yeah. But that's it. Thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right. So supporting good mentoring. So click to view mentoring to induction PowerPoint. So as I said earlier, I would recommend that everyone sort of clicks on that and go and sort of looks at that one particularly, because it will give you a really good overview of what the placement entails. And we'll take you through some of the documentation and some of the expectations, so that you're sort of familiar with our processes and what happens during that placement. And then there is the mentor induction video as well. So please do, make use of the resources that are available. And they will include things like, obviously listed here, ways of working, roles and responsibilities, mentoring the associate teachers, supporting documentation and CPD dates coming up, and then also the market review 2024, as things are changing in the way we do things. So we are going to have to change some of our processes to take on board the changes that are coming through from the market review for initial teacher training. And I mean, really, our purpose is that we hope that we can support you fully with that overview, so you are familiar with our processes at BCU, so that you feel that you are able to support our associate teachers really well as also. So just future CPD dates. So we have got some coming up in February, focusing particularly on SEND schools. So that's the 5th and the 8th of February. And then we have got 5th and 7th of March. So looking at challenging our associate teachers to use their developing subject knowledge to have an impact on learners. And how does the progress meeting demonstrate professional competency? In terms of the April one at the moment, that is to be confirmed. And again, the click is there if you'd like to click on that, and that will take you to those meetings. So, you're very welcome to join at those times as well. Then we've got an overview of our CPD calendar. I mean, we've had lots of feedback. People, our colleagues in school have found this really useful just to sort of plan ahead, particularly if you're in a school where you are having PG associate teachers, but also BA1s, BA2s. Some of you will have had BA3s in the autumn term as well. So there is a lot going on, and there are lots of different meetings and briefings sort of in the diary. So please use that to help you and support you, so that you know where to access that support further. We have highlighted on here as well a BCU Mentor Conference, which is in June the 26th, and there will be more information coming out about that in the coming weeks. Okay, and then we have got all of there's the different links there to that you can access the support materials that are again available on the website. So, supporting good mentoring, perhaps please take a moment to flick through the school-based training mental guidance, and you can find that at that link there. If you'd like to just do that for 5 minutes and then perhaps come back, and if you've got any questions, then please do so.
Hi, Kath, can you put that link in the chat, please? Because we can't click it through your screen.
Is it not?
No, because it's showcasing yours. Yeah, we can't. It's not live.
Where are we? Right, let's have a look. Thanks, Charlene. Do you want to check to see if that works now?
Yeah, I'll just check. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, has that given you enough time just to have a really quick look through the document and mentor guidance? And do you have any questions?
Just regarding absence, I was just at that section. If they are absent, are they to contact yourself or me as named mentor?
So the expectation is, and they will have what we call a progress journal with them. Have you? Have you got is this the first time that you'll have one of our associate teachers with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so they will come with the progress journal. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't. No, we've had one. She did observation days last week, and then we've got another one starting tomorrow.
Okay, so they have got a progress journal that obviously sort of tracks their progress across the time that they're with you in school. They will need to share that with you, and it will be something, it would be worth asking if you could have a look at that.
Yeah.
They should save it to their school. Well, they have an associate teacher folder, an electronic folder, and within there is a folder which is called shared with schools, and then everything for placement that they need to keep and save from sort of their progress journal, planning, etc., should be kept in there, but they should be able to share that with you through OneDrive, so you've got access to that as well. Okay. Now, part of that, at the beginning of their progress journal, it does ask them to find out what the school policy is regarding absence.
Yeah.
So they need to firstly follow the school absence policy. So what time to ring by, who would they need to speak to, can they leave a message, do they contact their class teacher? So really have a, perhaps have a chat with them and make sure that they understand what the school policy would be for any other member of staff. And then they should also contact us. Now, when they are allocated a university tutor, which is the tutor that will support them and you at school during their time in school, you may not know who that is yet. They will need to contact their university tutor as well and let them know that they're absent. And we also ask them to report it on the university attendance system. So they have got 2 or 3 places where they need to make sure that that absence is recorded. But I mean, the most important is obviously communicating with school in the first instant and what time by, so that everyone knows and everyone's sort of aware of what's happening. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anybody else got any questions? Okay, I'm going to move on, but obviously if anything comes up, then please do shout. We can sort of do questions at the end as well, so that's fine. So obviously at the moment, your associate teachers are carrying out their preliminary dates, so that preparation for placement, developing relationships with the children, familiarising themselves with planning, doing lesson observations, etc. So when they come to begin to plan and teach, then we will be asking you to complete one formal lesson observation a week. So that will be sort of formal feedback, verbal and written. Obviously, there's going to be lots of those informal times during the day and across the week where you're going to give them sort of feedback as and when at the end of a lesson, before school, lunchtime or whatever. But there is also that need to give them really sort of clear, focused feedback on the lessons that you observe. So it's thinking about what does good feedback look like, and thinking about the verbal. So how would you start that? What would you ask them? Perhaps ask them how they feel that lesson has gone, or were there things that they felt went really well, and then identify those, but also then begin to identify areas of development. And it's a conversation between the two of you. So it's about trying to encourage the associate teacher to be really reflecting upon what they're doing as well. You will have done your written feedback, and we have, as I've said, there are the prompts which you can find on the partnership website, which will help you with that verbal and that written feedback. We also think about, what are we getting, what are we eliciting from them? So where do we feel that they are at that point in their development? How are we challenging them? What questions are we asking them to really think about? Perhaps 1 or 2 aspects that they're working on, perhaps focused upon their current targets, so that they can think a little bit more deeply about those particular aspects of their practice. How we can support them, and how we can impart that knowledge to them as well. And it's very much that two-way process. So having that conversation is really important. And I've just been through that as well, sort of eliciting, asking questions and listening to them, challenging them, supporting them, and then sharing that knowledge and experience, and perhaps giving them those sort of pointers, those actions of where they could perhaps improve certain key elements of that practice. Okay, is there anyone who would like to share any examples of that? It may be early days at the moment because you haven't had an associate teacher before, or they've only just started with you, but it could be from a different context as well. what do you find works for you? Has anyone got any examples they'd like to share? I think there's also the sort of the difficult conversations as well, and thinking about how we can ensure that the conversation is constructive, and how do they take on that advice and feedback, and do they act upon that as well. So again, it's that joint sort of partnership, really. I'm going to move on unless anybody would like to contribute or ask any questions. So giving effective feedback and the verbal. So we've just put together some questions here that you could perhaps use, maybe slightly amend phrase in ways that you feel most comfortable to do, but it's really about sort of getting them involved in that reflective practice. I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes just to read through those. I think it's just important to sort of really emphasize the fact that, you know, this isn't a list of questions that you would need to follow. And I think it very much depends upon where the associate teacher is in terms of their development, but also perhaps focusing on their targets that they're working towards, and possibly sort of areas that you might feel are sort of appropriate to raise as potential new targets for them as well. Okay. Any questions? So as we said, you know, it's what we want to do is perhaps really focus on the targets that have been set. So look at previous targets. Our associate teachers are expected to put their current targets onto the observation feedback form. So for every formal lesson observation carried out by yourselves as the mentor in school, the associate teacher would have included their current targets on that. So I think those are a focus for that written and verbal feedback, and knowing what that associate teacher is working on in developing at that time, but also now what they need to develop further. It's really important that we're setting those precise targets so they can be supported. So it's being really specific, and we'll go through that target setting process in a minute. Identifying next steps, and obviously, and then making links to the BCU assessment tracker. Now the assessment tracker is actually in the progress journal, towards the bottom of that progress journal, and it's made up of 6 key themes. So our BCU key themes, which are underpinned by the teacher standards. So anything in there will actually enable them to enable you to be able to assess them against different aspects of the teacher standards. And we have 3 columns of the working towards, working at, and the working beyond. And obviously it depends where they are in their development as to where and what you might be highlighting as they improve and and also helping you to identify those next steps. The associate teachers also have a subject, so there is also the subject specific prompts that I've already sort of mentioned, which are on the website, which can support you with that written feedback. What I was going to mention also is that the associate teachers do also have what we call a subject specific development journal. And that has everything that details everything that they've been working towards and learning about in university, and that can be a really useful document as well to support. So these are those 6 key themes. So as you can see, key theme A is focusing upon critical inquiry and research to inform practice and how that supports effective teaching and learning. B is about establishing effective behaviour management in the classroom through those high expectations and an awareness of pupil wellbeing. C is very much focused upon the associate teacher's personal subject knowledge, so that we expect them to know more, remember more, and then apply that subject knowledge and that subject specific pedagogy to impact on pupils' progress in the classroom. And that's where you will find what they have done in their subject specific development journal. So they will be at different stages in their training, obviously. And our curriculum, if you look at the curriculum on the partnership website, it's very much, we call it our spiral curriculum, but there's a phase 1, a phase 2 and a phase 3. And that's clearly set out in their subject specific development journals as well. So obviously over the 3 years or the 3 phases for PGCE associate teachers, they're building up that knowledge during their training and then looking to see how that links in the classroom, and reflecting upon that as well. So key theme D is about planning, how they learn to plan and assess learning to ensure that all pupils are making progress. E is specifically focused on adaptive teaching strategies and approaches, supporting those learners in the classroom, such as your children with special educational needs and disabilities, and for those children for whom English is an additional language. And then F is very much that focus upon demonstrating professional behaviours and how they contribute effectively to the wider life of the school. At each assessment point, you will obviously be making judgments against these BCU key themes by using the tracker to track that progress against them. And it's really important that we also think about those professional behaviours, and you will be asked to make a judgment, and it's a met or not met against part 2 of the teacher standards as well. So that professional behaviour should be coming through and being demonstrated at all times. So this is the tracker. So in order to really give that effective feedback and written targets, we need to be visiting the tracker regularly. So you'll be asked to put some time aside each week for a weekly meeting, so that you can actually sit down with your associate teacher and have these really valuable conversations with them. And that would be a time to also look at the tracker here, the assessment tracker. So, and start to look at some of these statements, what are they working towards? What are they achieving? Where are they working at? So there'll be a section on the tracker for each of those BCU key themes. So this one is key theme C. So talking about looking at the associate teachers' subject knowledge and pedagogical knowledge, and where they are at that point in their training and in their placement with you. So if you think they've achieved it in the working towards, then please do highlight that statement and then go on to the working out to look for the next one. So it may be at that point, yes, they've achieved the working towards, but now we need to be working on this one at the working at, and that can be a target moving forward for the following week. You'll see that we've got one here which is underlined but not highlighted, so it may be that that is one that they're working on, so a target has developed from that particular aspect. Okay, so you can highlight, underline them, or it may be that partially met and therefore it becomes a target to be sort of assessed again at the end of that week or at the next weekly meeting. It also does, for this key theme C, as I've already mentioned, point sort of signpost you to reference to the subject specific development journal, because actually that will help put what they've learned and what they're doing in the classroom into greater context, and it can actually really form those really important high quality discussions that you're having with them around that developing subject knowledge for teaching, for planning and teaching. Okay. So as I've said, sorry, I'm just going back, there will be a page or so like that for each of the 6 key themes, and they're at the bottom of the progress journal. So giving effective feedback, as I've mentioned, subject specific prompts, you'll find these on the website as well. So if you were to click onto any of those, you'll get some more detailed feedback. I don't think we've actually got an example on here at the moment, but you know, if you know that you're going to be observing a history lesson next time, then have a look at those subject prompts as well, because that will help you sort of focus on giving that high quality feedback to the associate teacher as well. And these should really sort of be aligned also with that subject specific development journal that the associate teacher keeps up to date, and also the statements on the tracker, so that they're kind of aligned and hopefully sort of help support with making those judgments. In terms of targets, and we want them to be really specific and really effective. So what we've done, developed it so a target is written with 3 parts to it. So we have a what and a why and a how. And when you look into when you see their progress journal, you'll see it's color coded in this way as well, just as really a reminder of thinking of how do we set this target so that we are sort of meeting all parts of that. So what being the next step, what do they need to do now to make progress? And that will be developed from formative discussion and feedback. So then the why is this important? Why do they need to do this? Well, what impact is it going to have upon pupil progress? So, and that will help to measure that target to ensure it has made the appropriate impact. And then the how will that be achieved? So we're really then supporting our associate teachers with those suggestions and those actions of what they can do in order to move forward and meet with success. So how are they going to achieve that target? Using the word by will support. So by doing this, so it may be 2 or 3 actions: by observing the class teacher and then putting that into practice. It might be by using more concrete resources in the classroom, thinking about how that can be planned and implemented. So there's lots of ways that we can perhaps put those things into action. So target setting, at least one, we would like to see at least one subject specific target set following every observation. And this would include what is that next step, why is that important, and how will that be achieved? And again, going back to making those links to the subject specific prompts to support you in your written feedback, but also using that subject specific development journal that the associate teacher is keeping up to date and reflecting upon as well. So this is what you'll see in on the lesson observation feedback form on the prompt sheet. This is an example of PE. So to scaffold the learning, to enable all children to demonstrate the skill of jumping from 2 feet to 2 feet using the step model. And the prompt sheet will will support you with that as well. The lesson observation feedback form you can also find on the website, and we do ask for every formal weekly lesson to be observed and the written feedback on that particular form. Then we've got, sorry, jumping too fast, we've got another one here as an example for a maths lesson and a maths subject specific example. So to use concrete resources for column addition to ensure secure procedural knowledge and by modelling methods using concrete resources and provide opportunities for people to use them alongside the abstract. And then we've got one here for history, to embed effective use of timelines in your history teaching in order to develop and secure children's chronological knowledge by revisiting university taught sessions for specific examples and including them within your history planning and teaching. And where it does say revisiting university taught sessions, the record of that will be in the subject specific development journal. And then so we've got a further maths one here, modelling, 5 ways to secure progress through modelling. Spend time on modelling at the planning stage, identify and anticipate misconceptions, and then so that's linked, first one to C, straight D, and then another one sort of linked to key theme D, which is planning and assessment, and then the third one is linked back to B, and that learning environment and managing behaviour. Another one example in the history. And then, so what I'm going to do now, has anyone got any questions regarding giving that feedback, setting targets?
No, that's fine. It seems clear.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you. So I'm going to move on now to critical incident reflections. So this is to, obviously, because we want to encourage our associate teachers to become reflective practitioners, and this is like a process in order to help develop them as reflective thinkers. So a critical incident is something that leads to significant learning and personal growth in their own practice. The impact of completing a critical incident reflection, so thinking about what have they done and what impact has that had on the children's progress in the classroom. And obviously we would like you to be part of this as well. So it's kind of talking through those aspects that they're thinking of sort of focusing on and how they could do that and look for that impact in their practice. So obviously the more that you can support them with this reflection as well, and they are asked to complete 2 of these, one at their review meeting, which is that midpoint assessment point during their placement, and then their progress meeting, which will come at the end of their placement. So if you've got a BA1, then they will have a review meeting and a progress meeting 1 this year. If you've got a BA2, then it will obviously be a review meeting and progress meeting 2. If you've got a PG student this term, just starting, that will be their review meeting and progress meeting 2. Okay, and so they're all at slightly perhaps different points as well. And they will be, you'll find everything there in part as within that progress journal. So the critical incident, I mean, this is a model by Tripp, where they observe a situation and then pick up on something that perhaps isn't working right, or they picked up something that is, and therefore they would like to really address an issue that has sort of arisen, and then creating that critical incident and thinking about a planned response. So what can I do about that? What can I do to improve it or make it better? And then put that response into practice. So implementing that, and then observing the effects of that and reflecting upon it to in order to see what impact that has had. We also want them to very much underpin this with some reference back to reading, some research-informed practice. So again, they can look back at their subject-specific development journals, because actually a lot of what they have learnt at university will point them back to specific reading and research that they've engaged with. You know, and I think it's important, you know, often teachers who are new to the profession do struggle to identify situations that should be used for deeper reflections. And I think that's where you as the mentor can really help them to sort of really separate some of these issues out, and then perhaps identify an issue that actually with some intervention and response to would actually improve that situation. The other thing is often associate teachers will think a critical incident means it's something that's, you know, terrible has happened, and how would they deal with that again? And it's not that, it's just critical to them within their practice at that point in time. So the other thing I think we need to sort of ensure that they're not looking at that as something that they can just complete the night before their review meeting or their progress meeting. These things take time, and it may be that they need to implement something over, you know, a short period of time for that to become more of a feature of their practice on a more daily basis, so they can reflect upon how what that impact is having over sort of a period of time rather than a quick fix. So how do they embed that into their practice, and what has informed them of that practice, and then what has been the impact of that? You know, ensuring that they're using the BCU assessment tracker also to identify those key areas. So it might be linked to a target that they're working at. And then it will also show them how that they can progress towards achieving those key themes. It is also their opportunity to show and prove that they're progressing and developing. So your involvement and discussion as a mentor is vital, as you are that expert colleague in the classroom with them. So in terms of those critical incident reflections, we do ask to try and put a focus on it. So your year ones, for example, at review meeting 1, you know, and this comes really timely in terms of their progress and development anyway. So the focus would be more on behaviour and that sort of learning environment. So what is it that they can look at in some greater depth to improve that practice? Linked, so then the next one, so at their progress meeting 1, we would like them to link it to a subject area. So thinking very much about those subject specific targets as well. So, or if is an area of student reflection and learning, so perhaps there is something that specifically jumps out at you and then that would be a really good focus for that. If they're BA Year 2s, then their first review meeting, their critical incident will be focused on adaptive teaching and linked to a specific subject. And then at progress meeting 2, again, subject specific specialism, an area of student reflection and learning. In terms of your PGs, they will be at the review meeting and progress meeting 2 stage. So again, similarly to the BA Year 2s, that focus on adaptive teaching and subject specific. And there won't be anyone on the review meeting 3 or progress meeting 3 at the moment. That would be our Year 3s or PGCEs in their final practice. So this is what the critical incident looks like in their progress journal. So you can see that what we do is get them to complete this. So describing what that critical incident is and what stimulated them to sort of choose that in order to reflect and develop. What they've read, what they've referred back to, what has helped them to really form and help them to put that into action. What did they do? How did they implement it? And then what impact? So the impact both on pupil progress, but also the impact upon their own professional development as well. And then evidence. We do ask them to provide some evidence to support this critical incident, and it would be in the way of perhaps lesson planning. It could be children's work and the impact of what they've done has had on that sort of progress and the outcomes of the lesson. It could be some feedback that they've been given from yourselves when you've carried out that written feedback. And we ask up to 5 pieces of evidence to support that. We don't ask that it has to be 5, but it's up to 5 pieces of evidence. And I think so. There's just a bit more guidance on there, but I think. Oh, and this is an example of one that we've got before, which is focused on behaviour for learning. So, and you can see that they've made reference to themes, so theme A, theme B, and they've also made some reference to theory, some reading or work around Paul Dix's work around ready, respect and safe classroom rules. We've got a link to theme C, gaining knowledge of their needs and how to support them through research and observation, and theme F. So they're making reference to those BCU key themes and to the reading and perhaps going back to what they have learnt in university sessions as well to really support them. Then what have they done? What did they do to implement that? So a description of what happened there, and then the impact. And then obviously we've got some evidence here as well. So we've got some mental feedback comments. So these have been taken perhaps from a written lesson observation. So during the lesson you were able to. This is following the advice of specialists, acting upon that advice as well. Good evidence for you working with wider agencies. So there's lots of evidence there that will then, you will also be able to use that and record that as part of that on that assessment tracker as well. Okay, so this one is another example looking at science and what they've done. So again, linking to theory, constructivist theory, in order to support teaching and learning, and making some reference back to what they've learnt at university. Again, some links to key themes throughout that. And then again, we've got the impact on both pupil progress but also on their own development and the evidence, which I think is here of children's work as well. So it's just photographs, absolutely fine. Just make sure work is anonymised, and we do make that clear to them as well. And that's it really. That's about, I mean, that's a quick whiz through, sort of giving out feedback, talking about some of the documentation that is there to help support you with that, but also where do we record certain things, so we're all sort of following those processes. And then also, how do we set targets, how do we assess the trainee, and bringing all of that together really. So it's also looking further on then, using the BCU ITE curriculum to set appropriate SMART targets, thinking about those critical incidences and how you can support them with that. So, and looking at sort of the quality of the evidence that's used there to support them, assessing our associate teachers accurately against that assessment tracker, and then working with your university tutor as well. Okay, and I think that's it. Just the final one is saving that date. So I mentioned this at the beginning when we were looking at that overview of dates. Our BCU mentoring conference, which is on the 26th of June, it will be held at City South campus, as far as we know at the moment. And it's really important as part of networking and CPD for you, and sort of helping us to build our relationships with our partnership with our schools as well. It's always lovely to be able to put a face to a name, so please save that date, and we would really like to see you at that. If you do have any questions or inquiries at all, if it's regarding or related to a PGCE associate teacher, then we have got a joint a team email there, so please do contact them. If it's regarding a year one associate teacher, then that one, if you use that email address, that will go to the year one team. If you have got a question regarding a year two associate teacher, then please send that to the year two team. If it's particularly about placements, then the email for our placement team is there. And then our primary partnership lead, Anne Whitaker, who unfortunately wasn't able to join me today, but her email is on there as well. Please do contact us if you have got any questions or queries, and someone will get back to you. Once we have finalised the school lists and the university tutors, then obviously you'll be in contact more with them. But at this time, if you do need to contact anyone, then please use any of those emails in order to contact us. I'm now going to go back to and unshare that, and then I'm coming back to the chat. Don't have any questions in there. Do you have any questions? I'm going to put my camera on as well. So Charlene and Jordan, I'm just really conscious of time as well. And you've done a lot of listening. So is there anything that you would like to ask?
I'm fine. I'll just have a look on the portal.
Okay, that's fine. But do come back to us if you do have any questions, Charlene. Thank you very much.
Will do. Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Thanks. You.
Bye.
Bye. And Jordan? Okay, that's great, Jordan. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have found that useful. Please do have a look on the website as well. But please do come back to us if you've got anything that you can't find the answer to. All right. Thank you very much. That's great. I'm glad you have found it really useful. Thank you very much.